So imagine this. 7 out of 10 people who walk into your digital store, they load up their arms with products, walk all the way up to the cash register.
And then just drop everything and walk out the door. Yeah.
Right. They just walk out. And today, we're figuring out exactly why that happens.
It is, honestly, it's a brutal statistic to confront, especially if you're the one, pouring all your time and resources into building that store. But the reality of modern e-commerce is that most digital storefronts are, well, they're actively frustrating the people who are actively trying to give them money.
Yeah, which is wild to think about. And that brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. So whether you are prepping to launch a brand new business or maybe trying to optimize a side project you're already running, or, if you just love discovering how successful systems actually operate behind the scenes, we are tearing down a massive industry myth today.
Oh, totally. A huge one.
We are dismantling the idea that the best Shopify stores win just because they have like the biggest budgets or the absolute prettiest designs.
Yeah, because they don't. We're working from a highly comprehensive data-backed guide today, and it's called What the Best Shopify Stores Do Differently. And what this source does brilliantly, it just strips away all the surface-level aesthetics to reveal the actual underlying architecture of high-converting stores.
It's virtual stuff.
Exactly. The central argument is fascinating. It basically says average stores focus on the palette, so, the colors, the fonts, the overall vibe, but top-tier stores, they focus on the pattern.
The structural mechanics of the sale. And we desperately need to understand those mechanics because, honestly, the baseline out there is shocking. There's this foundational stat in our notes from the Baymard Institute that completely reframed my perspective on this.
Oh, the usability one?
Yes. They evaluate e-commerce usability across the web, and they found that only 48% of desktop e-commerce sites and a mere 38% of mobile sites even clear a decent or good usability bar for their product pages.
Just think about that. That means more than half of the entire internet is operating below a basic acceptable baseline. Yeah, half. And the instinct for most store owners when they see poor sales is, well, they try and fix it by making the site prettier. They want a sleeker theme or more expensive lifestyle photography or a brand new logo.
Right, they go straight to the palette.
Exactly. But the data shows that aesthetic changes rarely move the needle if the underlying structure is fundamentally broken. The winning pattern actually comes down to a really specific set of structural decisions regarding how information is presented, how the site physically responds to the user, and how trust is actively built.
Okay, let's unpack this structural blueprint. I want to start exactly where the shopper makes their final high-stakes decision, which is, those few inches of real estate surrounding the Add to Cart button, buy box.
Yeah, the buy box is everything. To understand why clarity there is so vital, we really have to look deeper at that abandonment math we opened with.
Right, the 7 out of 10 dropping their stuff.
Exactly. Across 50 different independent studies, the average documented online shopping cart abandonment rate is a staggering 70.22%.
Man, that hurts to hear.
It really does. Now, it is true that some of those users are just window shopping, But look at the top reasons for the ones who leave with clear purchasing intent. 39% abandon because extra costs like shipping, tax, and fees are too high.
Wait, wasn't there another big chunk that leaves just because they couldn't even find those costs?
Yes. 14% leave simply because they couldn't calculate the total cost up front. The information was entirely missing.
Wow. Our source actually points out that 43% of sites do not display any shipping costs on the product page. 43%. Yet 64% of shoppers are actively looking for that exact information right there.
That's a huge disconnect.
It really is. Not to mention sizing. Like 70% of benchmark sites fail at basic size selection buttons, and over 80% lack sufficient sizing information altogether.
Which reveals a massive fundamental flaw in how we design digital buying journeys. A significant portion of store owners are intentionally withholding the most critical pieces of information from the customer until the very last possible step.
Okay, I want to push back on this a little bit, or at least, explore the opposing logic here.
Yeah.
Because isn't hiding the shipping cost until checkout a classic, almost foundational sales tactic?
Well, historically, sure.
Right. You get them into the funnel, they click Add to Cart, they feel psychologically committed. Bringing up the shipping cost before they've even shown intent feels like asking someone to pay for their dinner before they've even looked at the menu.
It is a really widespread strategy, I'll give you that.
Hmm.
But it completely misreads consumer psychology in a digital environment.
How so?
Well, when a shopper is online, they are hyper aware of being manipulated. They don't have a friendly salesperson guiding them, right? They only have a screen.
Ah, I see. Which makes total sense when you frame it around autonomy. So hiding the shipping cost isn't really like holding off on the dinner bill. It's more like trying to board a flight without being told the final destination or the baggage fees.
Yes, exactly. You're asking the user to commit to a journey without knowing the toll. It doesn't secure the sale. It breeds immediate resentment because the user feels tricked.
Because you held back on the facts.
Right. The modern digital shopper demands autonomy and absolute transparency. So the solution that top-performing stores use is radical buy box clarity.
Radical clarity. I like that.
They place the price, the shipping costs, the delivery estimates, the variant buttons, and the return terms directly next to the buy button.
So no hunting around the page.
None at all. They answer the customer's questions before they even have to ask, completely eliminating the cognitive load of having to hunt for basic facts.
And the conversion data backs this up entirely, doesn't it? The guide cites Allbirds as a primary example.
Yeah, the Allbirds case is great.
When Allbirds linked their retail inventory directly to their site, allowing for accurate, real-time product availability, their conversions rose simply because that accurate availability signal was present right there in the buy box.
Just from showing what was actually in stock.
Exactly. And Pollywood, they saw a 22% conversion increase after migrating and fixing these basic page anatomies.
Wait, 22%? Just from layout?
A 22% lift just for being structurally clear. It completely proves that the buyer isn't necessarily rejecting the product. They are rejecting the ambiguous process of trying to buy it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Which actually introduces our next major friction point. We can make the buy box completely transparent, but what happens when the physical interface itself is working against the user?
Oh, right. Moving from what they are looking at to how they are looking at it.
Exactly.
Imagine a shopper trying to read that beautifully clear info, select a size, and click buy while holding a phone in one hand, balancing a coffee in the other, and standing on a crowded, swaying commuter train.
A nightmare scenario, but a very common one.
Right. That brings us to the difference between a site being mobile compatible versus being truly mobile first.
And this is where we see a massive structural leak in the industry. The data shows that mobile devices drive 78% of global e-commerce traffic.
78%.
But they only account for roughly 70% of orders.
Oh, wow. That 8-point gap.
Hmm.
I mean, that represents a mountain of revenue just leaking out of the system because of physical friction on small screens.
It really is a mountain. Consider that Adobe reported 56.4% of U.S. online holiday transactions in 2025 took place on smartphones.
More than half.
Right. Mobile is no longer just like an alternative way to shop while you're away from your laptop. It is the primary storefront.
Yeah.
A store cannot just work on a phone anymore. It has to be optimized for the physical constraints of human hands.
Here's where it gets really interesting. There's a profound difference between a site that merely shrinks to fit a phone screen versus a site that is actively built for the thumb.
Built for the thumb, yeah.
Because when a site just shrinks, what we call mobile compatible, the buttons get tiny, the text is unreadable, and the user spends all their time pinching and zooming just to navigate?
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It's the worst. The Nielsen-Norman Group actually emphasizes optimizing for these actual physical constraints. The structural fixes here are incredibly practical.
Why?
Well, top stores use a sticky Add to Cart button. Instead of forcing the user to scroll all the way back up to the top of a really long product page just to buy, the button anchors to the bottom of the screen and follows them.
Oh, that's smart. It's always in reach.
Always. They also ensure tap targets are large enough for an actual human thumb, and they ruthlessly minimize the number of screen loads required to check out.
And the ultimate friction killer in this space seems to be the accelerated wallet, right? Just bypassing the traditional checkout form entirely.
Oh, absolutely. The source highlights Shop Pay as a prime example of this pattern.
I use that all the time.
Most people do now. Shop Pay delivers up to 50% better conversion compared to a standard guest checkout.
50%. That is massive.
It's huge. Just having it present gives a 5% lift in lower funnel conversions, and it outpaces other accelerated options by at least 10%.
Let's unpack why that works so well, because it's not just about the button itself, right? It's about what the button allows you to skip.
Exactly. It is about bypassing the physical pain of data entry. Typing out a 16-digit credit card number, an expiration date, a CVV code, and a billing address on a tiny glass keyboard is inherently frustrating.
You make mistakes, you have to backspace, the page reloads, it's awful.
Right. Accelerated wallets store that information securely. So with ShopPay, the user often verifies the purchase with biometric trust like Apple's Face ID or a fingerprint.
It turns a 2-minute, error-prone data entry task into a 1-second glance.
Exactly. The guide mentioned Everlane using this to incredible effect. They saw conversion rates reach up to 70% with ShopPay, and during their 2025 Black Friday Cyber Monday rush, 32% of all their orders flowed through it.
Wow. When you're operating at that kind of volume, removing the friction of the glass keyboard is just a massive competitive advantage.
It is, but physical friction is only half the battle on mobile. We also have to address psychological friction.
Which brings us to a major logical flaw if we stop right here. We have a fast, thumb-friendly checkout and crystal clear pricing. But if I am on a tiny screen and I am looking at a brand I have literally never heard of before, a fast checkout button does not alleviate the fact that I am terrified they're going to steal my credit card or just never ship the item.
And this addresses a deeply ingrained skepticism in online shoppers. Going back to that abandonment chart, 19% of shoppers leave because they don't trust the site with their payment details.
19%, just walking away.
Yep. Another 15% walk away over an unsatisfactory return policy. You have to overcome the inherent doubt of the small screen, which brings us to the third structural pattern. Trust stacking.
Trust stacking. Because a lot of store owners seem to think trust is just a checkbox, right? They paste a generic, secure checkout graphic in their footer and consider the job done.
Oh, the classic padlock icon?
Yes. But a single secure checkout badge randomly placed on a sketchy, unpolished website is exactly like seeing a not poisonous sticker slapped onto a suspicious sandwich at a gas station.
That is exactly what it feels like.
Right. It doesn't make you feel safe. It actively makes you more nervous. You start wondering why they felt the need to specify that this particular sandwich won't harm you.
Shopify's own guidance actually notes that a badge alone won't make a weak claim credible. Trust cannot be a sticker. It has to be stacked, and it has to be placed near the point of decision, the buy box, not buried at the bottom of the page where no one looks.
So what actually goes into a functional trust stack?
It's a combination of signals that reduce perceived risk. It includes clear, plain language return policies so the user knows they have an out. It includes satisfaction guarantees.
Okay, makes sense.
It also includes real contact details, like a physical address or a phone number proves there are actual humans behind the screen. But above all else, the absolute foundation of the trust stack is reviews.
The review statistics in the source material are staggering. The Spiegel Research Center found that having just 5 reviews increases the likelihood of a purchase by 270%.
5 reviews. That's it.
That's all it takes for a 270% bump. And 49% of consumers trust online reviews just as much as a recommendation from a personal friend.
What's fascinating here is the nuance of how those reviews are presented. The secret to the trust stack isn't just accumulating 5-star praise. It is how a store handles the negative reviews.
Wait, negative reviews help?
Yes. Baymart found that staying silent on bad reviews actively erodes consumer confidence.
Oh, I see. Because if a shopper sees a 1-star review complaining about a late shipment and there's no response from the owner, the shopper assumes the brand simply doesn't care.
Exactly. They assume if they have a problem, they will be ignored too.
So replying to a negative review transforms the liability into a marketing asset.
Precisely. When an owner steps in, apologizes, and offers a solution publicly, they are proving to the next 1,000 people who read that page that the brand is accountable.
It shows there is a pilot flying the plane. And the guide mentions that using popular verified apps like Judge.me or Looks makes capturing and displaying these reviews alongside user-generated photos really seamless. You are stacking social proof right where the hesitation occurs.
Okay, so we've built a solid foundation now. We have clear information, mobile ease, and deep stacked trust.
What happens if all of that brilliant, carefully crafted structure takes 4 full seconds to load on a 4G connection?
The shopper abandons the journey entirely.
Just gone.
Completely. Which leads us to the fourth pattern, speed as a feature. Speed is often treated as a highly technical afterthought, something relegated to the IT department. But it is fundamentally a conversion metric.
The guide actually cites some compelling research from Google and Deloitte on this. They found that a mere 0.1 second improvement in mobile site speed lifts retail conversion rates by 8.4%.
0.1 seconds. A blink.
Literally a blink. I want to translate that math into real terms for you listening. If your store does $10,000 a month in revenue on mobile, shaving off a tenth of a second in load time gives you roughly $840 more a month.
That's
For
incredible.
doing absolutely nothing else. You didn't buy more ads, you didn't change your product, you just delivered the page faster.
When you connect this to the bigger picture, it really explains why the Shopify ecosystem has built-in guardrails to enforce this speed pattern. For instance, any theme sold in their theme store must hit a minimum Lighthouse performance score of 60.
Let's clarify what that means for someone who isn't a web developer. What exactly is a Lighthouse score?
Oh, right. Lighthouse is an automated tool developed by Google. It essentially acts as a secret shopper for your website.
Okay, what is it looking for?
It analyzes how fast the page visually loads, how quickly it becomes interactive, so when can you actually click things, and how stable the layout is while it loads. A score of 60 ensures a baseline of rapid performance across all devices.
But what about all those third-party apps people plug into their stores to add features? I know adding too many widgets can bog a site down incredibly fast.
They have a structural solution for that as well. Apps that earn the Built for Shopify badge undergo heavy vetting.
So they can't ruin your speed.
Exactly. They are strictly limited in how much code they can inject, ensuring they cannot drop a storefront's Lighthouse score by more than 10 points. Furthermore, the platform utilizes a content delivery network, or CDN.
Unpack the CDN concept for us. How does that actually speed things up?
Think of a CDN like a network of local delivery hubs spread across the globe.
Okay.
Instead of shipping a heavy, high-resolution product image all the way from a primary server in New York to a customer's phone in London, which takes critical milliseconds, the CDN keeps a compressed copy of that image in a London hub.
Oh, so it's physically closer to the user.
Exactly. It also automatically converts that image into the most optimal, lightweight format for the user's specific browser, whether that is WebP, AVIF, or JPEG.
So the image travels a shorter distance and weighs less, loading almost instantly without the store owner having to manually optimize thousands of photos.
Yes. It is invisible structural protection.
And the guide highlights Bombas as the ultimate real-world stress test of this speed architecture.
Oh, the Shark Tank story.
Right. When Bombas migrated to a fast foundation on Shopify Plus, utilizing an optimized framework like the Horizon theme, they survived the notorious Shark Tank effect.
Because usually you go on national television, millions of people hit your site at the exact same second, and the site just melts under the pressure.
But Bombas stayed online. They maintained their speed during that massive traffic spike, and they ultimately posted $17.2 million in sales in their first full year after replatforming, maintaining 300% year-over-year growth.
Speed protected their biggest moment.
Okay, so we've outlined the blueprint. Buy box clarity, thumb-friendly mobile, stack trust, and millisecond speed.
That's the core four.
If the underlying logic is this clear and this proven, why do so many smart, capable store owners still get it completely wrong?
Well, because they fall into a trap the guide refers to as the cargo cult illusion.
Cargo cult.
Yeah. It stems from observing the end result of success without understanding the foundational steps that led there. Store owners look at industry giants brands like Gymshark, for example. Gymshark famously hit 41 million pounds in sales back in 2017 after scaling up their operations.
Right, they're massive.
So a new store owner looks at Gymshark's highly custom, incredibly expensive, headless website architecture, and they try to copy it immediately.
Quick pause for the sake of our listeners. What does headless actually mean in this context?
Oh, sure. Headless architecture means you completely separate the front end of your website, the visual part the customer interacts with, from the back-end infrastructure that processes the payments and inventory.
Sounds complicated.
It is. It gives massive enterprise-level companies infinite flexibility to build custom experiences, but it is highly complex and requires an army of developers to maintain.
So a new store owner copies the multi-million-dollar budget instead of the fundamental pattern. They build this incredibly complex, heavy site, thinking that complexity is what creates scale.
Exactly. They have the timeline completely backwards. Gymshark won initially because they mastered the four foundational patterns we just discussed.
They nailed the buy box, they optimized for mobile, they built trust, and they were fast.
Yes. The custom engineering, the expensive headless builds, that only came years later because their massive sheer volume finally necessitated it and paid for it.
They built the foundation first. So if you are listening to this right now and realizing your store is maybe more palette than pattern, what is the exact roadmap you need to execute? How do we fix it today?
The guide lays out a very direct, pragmatic path. Step one is simply baseline first. Before you touch a single line of code or change a color, go read the web performance report in your admin dashboard.
You must measure where your speed and conversions currently stand before you start rearranging the furniture. You can't improve what you don't measure.
Exactly. What's step two? Step two is audit and prune. Go into your store and ruthlessly strip out any apps that do not have that built for Shopify badge.
Especially the ones you installed months ago and aren't even using.
Yes. They are likely running heavy background scripts that are quietly wrecking your speed score.
And for step 3, we have to talk about the DIY versus developer divide. Because a lot of people hear structural changes and think fixing all this is going to cost them $10,000 in agency fees.
Yeah, that's a huge misconception. The reality is much more accessible. Moving your buy box information to the top of the page, installing a verified review app like Judge.me, pruning old apps, these are afternoon DIY jobs you can do yourself in the theme editor.
So when do you actually need a developer?
You only need to call a developer for deep structural code blocks. For example, if your chosen theme completely lacks a sticky mobile cart and you need it custom coded, or if your core web vitals, which are Google's specific speed metrics, remain in the red even after you've pruned your apps.
That makes sense. And finally, step 4, remeasure. Wait 30 days, check the analytics again, and actually prove that the structural changes move the needle.
It is a completely empirical approach to design. No guessing.
To wrap this all up, the core thesis for you, the listener, is simple but profound. Stop admiring the palette and start copying the pattern.
Yes, exactly.
Buy box clarity, mobile-first design, trust stacking, and speed. These aren't just designs you passively inherit when you pick a theme. They are active decisions you have to make about how your business operates.
I'd offer a final thought for you to take away, one that expands on this idea of structural patterns.
Oh, go for it.
Think about that 70.22% abandonment rate we talked about. If 70% of digital friction comes down to missing information, clumsy handling, a lack of trust, and slow delivery of answers, how does this apply outside of e-commerce?
Oh, wow.
Think about how you present your own resume, or how you pitch a new project to your boss, or even how you organize your physical workspace.
That is a brilliant reframe, applying the pattern to your own professional life.
Right. Are you relying on a pretty palette-like fancy buzzwords and a slick presentation to impress people while actively hiding the shipping costs, the real structural truths of what it actually takes to work with you?
Are you putting the important details right up front where people make their decisions, or are you burying them in the footer of your life?
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I highly encourage you to go audit your own storefronts today, both the digital ones and maybe the personal ones too.
Yeah.
Until next time.